The tech for this podcast was produced by Truth Digital. Truth Digital is the sister company to Cochrane & Co. We work in the same office, we drink the same coffee. We do websites, marketing, paid ads, social media, SEO, and all of the other things that will get you new business quickly and efficiently without the bullshit. Check us out, truthdigital.co.uk, or check us out on socials. All handles are Truth Digital. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you here again very soon.
Welcome to the UK Flooring Podcast, and today it is my turn to take over the show. So because it's hotter than Satan's asshole today, and I am sitting in a very, very hot studio, and because the subject is a pretty boring one, but it's a really important one, I'm going to try and keep this as short and sweet as possible. So today, what am I going to be talking about? You guessed it, I'm going to be talking about Making Tax Digital. So, what is Making Tax Digital, or MTD, that people are calling it, or the abbreviation of that? So, if you're listening to this and you're actually anything like any other flooring business owner that I've spoken to recently, you've probably heard about this term. You've probably nodded along politely and then immediately carried on thinking about something else, whether it's quoting, fitters, cash flow, wages, you name it. That's completely understandable. HMRC have done a fantastic job of creating a title that sounds important, but they don't actually, in my opinion, actually explain clearly what it is and what it means for you. So this is what today's podcast is about. So in simple English, let's talk about it in simple English. Making Tax Digital means that HMRC are wanting businesses, can't even get my words out. It's that hot. I am melting into a puddle. They are wanting businesses and self-employed people to keep all of their records digitally, and they want to send information. They want them to send information to them more regularly throughout the year. That's it. Simples. There's no smoke, there's no mirrors, there's no government conspiracy or anything else. But what this does mean for everybody that I've spoken to recently in relation to this, some people it doesn't apply to, but quite a lot of our industry this does apply to. So instead of stuffing receipts into a drawer, I've talked about this before, updating a spreadsheet maybe once a quarter, that's if you know how to use Excel, handing all of your paperwork to your accountant in a carrier bag in January to wish them luck with sorting out your paperwork. HMRC actually wants you to keep your records maintained digitally throughout the year. So if you're a sole trader and your turnover is above the threshold, then you will need to keep your digital records, use compatible software, submit quarterly updates to HMRC, and then submit a final declaration at year end. So as it currently stands, everybody should be sending a self-assessment tax return at the end of the year. Now, this is just going to make it a little bit harder for those that only do that once a year, 12 months behind, is that they want you to be doing it in the year, quarterly. So there's going to be a lot of change going around on this. So you might be thinking, brilliant, that's great. 4 tax returns instead of 1. Not exactly. Just give me a second because I'm melting. These quarterly updates are not really 4 separate tax bills. All they are asking for is more visibility of what's going on during the year, rather than hearing about it 18 months later. So at the moment, people are basically operating like students who only sit once at the end of the year, sit an exam once at the end of the year. Making Tax Digital is more like the coursework throughout the year, so the work is spread out, submitted regularly, and therefore the surprises for everybody involved should be smaller. That's in theory anyway. However, I have seen and heard a lot of people actually panicking about this. And usually we have that January kind of frantic scramble that involves a lot of stress, accountments, statements, etc. out. Making tax digital is not really going to allow for that. Because you do need to be a bit more up to date throughout the year. So I'm getting a lot of resistance. So I've already heard people saying things like, well, I'm not doing it. That's not how I've done it. That's not how I'm going to do it. Which really is fascinating, because that's like saying you're not doing speed limits. You don't really get a vote on it. You can't really disagree with it. You can complain about it all you like. You can tell everybody how ridiculous it is, but eventually you're still going to have to comply. So why not just get on with this now and understand a little bit more about it? So good news is most foreign businesses are probably closer than they actually think. So if you're already using something like Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, you're halfway there. Bookkeeping is digital. Your bank feeds are likely to be connected. Your invoices are being recorded. Expenses are being captured. That's the hope anyway. So quite a lot of that heavy lifting is already done. So really the bigger challenge I see is that it's not about implementing the technology, although we've come a long way in the last couple of years for the flooring industry in particular. It's about the behaviour. It's about getting into good habits, because the reality is that many flooring business owners still don't know the numbers. So this is where I become a little bit slightly controversial, because I don't actually think making tax digital is a problem. I think it's actually exposing a problem that already exists. So most of you will know I regularly sit down with flooring businesses and ask some basic questions like, what's your gross profit margin? How much VAT do you owe? What's your tax provision? What department is the most profitable? How much cash do you have available after liabilities? Answers that I get have typically varied, but they're usually based on a gut feeling, which is usually the bank balance. Well, my bank balance has gone up this year compared to last year, so I'm obviously doing all right. But my favourite thing that most people will say is, I'll just ask my accountant. Now, don't get me wrong, accountants are brilliant. We are brilliant. But your accountant doesn't run your business, you do. So in my opinion, the businesses that are going to struggle with making tax digital are usually the same businesses that are struggling with everyday financials. So things like poor bookkeeping practices, no systems in place, no processes, no visibility, no routine. Routine is key for this. And the businesses that embrace it will probably discover something really interesting. And I love this topic. You know I do. But once your records are up to date every month, you start seeing things clearly. You'll see when your margins are slipping. You'll see that you've got labour costs that are increasing, products that don't make money, customers who take too long to pay, sales trends, cash flow problems, and you'll start managing your financials less on emotion and more on information. And that's a really powerful tool. So if anything, I'm kind of on the side of what HMRC are doing with making tax digital, because I think it's going to give people specific insights into their financial situation that they maybe didn't have before. So if we talk about, for example, specifically flooring. Now, imagine that you've quoted 10 jobs this month, you win 6 of them, you complete 4, and you take 2 deposits. You also have 3 suppliers increasing their prices. That's obviously happening quite a lot at the moment. We're seeing loads of surcharges being imposed on people. Anyway, I digress. A customer delays a payment. Someone submits a mileage claim. You need to be able to ask yourself honestly, can you tell me exactly how much profit you've made this month? And this isn't about turnover. It's not about sales. It's about profit. Most people can't. Making tax digital won't magically solve that, but it will bring you closer, and it'll force you to be closing that gap to having the information available to you. And that, in my opinion, is a good thing. So hopefully that explains. So what you should be doing now, if you think this applies to you, and I'll go through this in a little bit more detail in terms of what it did, about what it does. Have another drink. That's what I'm going to say. So, firstly, Find out whether making tax digital actually applies to you and when. For most of us in the flooring industry that are sole traders, if you are turning over £50,000 a year, you should already be registered for making tax digital. Now, by April 2027, if you are turning over £30,000 a year or more, then it also then becomes compulsory for you by April 2027. So, not everybody has entered this all in at the same time. So if you are still relying on spreadsheets and you've got this staging date in advance, and you're still working on things like paper records, you need to start speaking to your accountant now. Don't leave it 6 months before the deadline, or even 2 months before the deadline, or even on the deadline, and suddenly then have a shit fit that you haven't got things in order. Because if you're already ahead of the game and you start using these pieces of software, it allows you to get disciplined before it actually happens. It means that you can understand the processes that you are implementing. It means that you understand how things work. It's going to force you to bring your existing bookkeeping up to date to make sure that everything is running as it should be. And it means that you're going to be ready for it instead of just leaving it to the last minute. So if you are already using some form of cloud software, you need to start getting disciplined. Keep your bookkeeping current, capture your expenses properly using something like HubDoc or Dext, something where you can actually quickly just take a picture, upload it to the cloud, and it gets it into the system. You shouldn't need to be kind of scrabbling around for receipts on the dashboard or receipts in your back pockets or shit, it's gone through the washing machine. As soon as you've got it, get the discipline in place of just taking a picture, snap it, and upload it to where it needs to go. You need to be staying on top of your bank reconciliation regularly. So this is basically where your bank feed is fed into your piece of software. So it will pull all of the data through, which makes it super, super easy. And once you have then put through your expenses, you will then be able to match them off. And it's a game of matchy-matchy, and we can match it off. Now, you have to take a bit of time with this because I see so many mistakes happening in this kind of realm that people are too fast to reconcile things until they understand the process themselves. So if you need some training on it, most of the software providers do have free training for users. So that's a good place to start. Get to understand the basics. And then my biggest thing is you can then start reviewing your numbers monthly, not quarterly, not annually. Do it monthly. So you start building a picture of what you are looking at and how you need to be reporting things. And finally, biggest tip from me, stop thinking of bookkeeping as a compliance exercise. It's not. It's a management tool. And the tax return is simply a byproduct of doing that. So the real value of understanding what is happening in your business is seeing it before it becomes a problem. So obviously, I've seen over the years people struggling with margins drifting, costs creeping up, cash flows being tightened. None of these problems happened overnight, but they happened because nobody was looking. So making tax digital is a great thing for me. It's not really about tax, about visibility. It's about accountability, and and whether we like it or not, it's coming. It's here. You can spend the next 12 months complaining about it, thinking about it, whinging about it, or you could actually stop using it as an excuse to get finally some handle on your numbers. So one approach is creating stress. The other approach is creating a better business. So what I've seen over the years is that flooring businesses that do understand their numbers are usually the ones that are still standing 10 years later. That's what making tax digital really means. No more forms, no more admin, just better habits, better visibility, and better decisions. And ultimately, that's what makes a better business. So that's it for me today. I tried to keep it short and sweet. I didn't want to overburden you. It is a big topic, but hopefully I've given you it in a bit of a layman's terms, just to give you a bit of an insight into it. In terms of recommendations for pieces of software, for digital software, I would be recommending Xero. hands down, my favourite tool for anything digitally accounts based. There are other things like Free Agent. There are things like QuickBooks. We'll stop there with that one. But use those. And as I said before, look at things like HubDoc and Dext for being able to capture all of your receipts and invoices as well. So I hope that helps. If you've got any questions, please feel free to reach out to us and ask. You can contact me at Cockrell & Co. on sarah@cockrellandco.co.uk if you've got any more questions about the topic I've been speaking today to you today on. Now I'm going to get out of this office, this studio, because I am melting, and as I said, it's like Satan's house. So enjoy the heat while it lasts, and I will catch you later. Bye for now.
The sponsor for this show is us, is Cockrell & Co. What do Cockrell & Co do? Well, we help flooring shops, retailers, contractors, wholesalers and anyone connected to the flooring industry spend more time doing productive things, putting systems and processes in place, making more bottom line profit and running their business much more efficiently than they ever thought was possible. We run training courses, we have a community of nearly 100 people and this podcast too. So if you want to know more about what we do, the best place to find us is either on socials, Cockrell & Co, or the website, which is cockrellandco.co.uk. We'd love to speak to you about how your business is going, what your plans are, and how you would love to grow and mature that over time. There is no cost to have a conversation with us on Zoom or on the telephone. We now have a fantastic senior leadership team who can help you with 99.9% problems, and if we can't help you, we will find someone that can. So no matter what flooring business you've got, what help you would need, you just need to ask. That is all. So without the corporate waffle, without the bloke in the shiny suit, but someone that wants to make more money and spend time doing things that you love, we would love to hear from you. Again, visit cockrellandco.co.uk and send us a message, or find us on LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook and Instagram.